The Grand Army of the Republic was incredible. Not only did it wage a galaxy-spanning war effectively against the unending droid hordes of the CIS, but it was also created in secret and largely financed by a few rich investors, mostly Hugo Damask, otherwise known as Darth Plagueis. Yet, after the formation of the Empire, despite some small cloning projects, like Thrawn Sparti clones for the Katana fleet or his Mount Tantus sleeper clones, a true clone army was never again seen in the galaxy. Why? That's something we'll discuss today. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another lore video. Before we begin, I just want to announce that I've posted a brand new Empire at War video on my second channel, X2, with 8 or 9 episodes currently being worked on for eventual release, and this is something a lot of you have requested, so I hope this is good news. We'll be running 2 series concurrently, one where we'll be playing as the Empire in the Awakening of the Rebellion mod, which is what's uploaded today, and another as we play as the New Republic in Thrawn's Revenge. But anyway, back on topic. To understand why a new clone army never emerged after the Clone Wars, we first need to begin with the discussion of Kamino and the way they perfected the cloning of humanoid warriors. Basically, no one did clones as well as Kamino, certainly not for fighting purposes. The origins of this are explained in the Plagueis novel. During the Age of the Republic, there were serious restrictions on cloning within the galaxy. However, the Kaminoans were outside the galactic rim and were more or less ignored by the Republic. What's more, the species, who had to deal with the environmental destruction of their planet in form of flooding, was extraordinarily pragmatic and scientific minded, with little cares for ethical limitations. These two factors combined allowed the species to perform a broad array of scientific tests without any sort of limitation. This science would give them a bedrock for cloning, unlike any other in the galaxy. The Essential Guide to Warfare adds even more information. Kaminoan cloning was so successful because the method not only replicated tissue, but also altered genes, enhancing loyalty and aggressiveness while removing defiance in the Republic clones, all which came from an already very good template, Jango Fett. So rather than just creating copies, they were creating an obedient, effective military. And while the process did change for special forces units, these types of clones made up the majority of the military and made the fighting force very effective across the galaxy. This all comes back to their unique knowledge base and their prior experiences making humanoid slaves and workers. However, the Kamino cloning methods were also bolstered by the Koi Valdar, a group of 100 individuals, mostly Mandalorians, hand-selected by Jango Fett, who lived on Kamino in secret for over 10 years training clones. Add to that purpose-built armor and equipment, and absolutely most important, a very long development cycle unique to Kamino clones, and it's clear why the Grand Army of the Republic was such an insanely good fighting force. Outside of Kamino, cloning in the galaxy beyond simple organ replacement was fairly rare. The Empire experimented with a variation of the Arcanian cloning method, creating G-node clones, but they were prone to catastrophic failures, i.e. murder sprees. Sparti clones were often far less effective than even standard troops, but more importantly, the cylinders themselves were very expensive, rare, and very difficult to produce. And this ties in nicely to the Empire, probably the prime candidate for a faction that would make a new clone army. However, despite various efforts to integrate new cloning models and even new batch Kaminoan clones in with the Stormtrooper Corps, the Empire eventually decided that it was cheaper for them to simply recruit persons from occupied planets. So, not only was a new clone army not produced, but the percentage of clones within the overall military force was always decreasing. Kamino clones were expensive and took a long time to make, and other processes were generally less effective than ordinary soldiers. The thing about the Grand Army of the Republic was that it was really only feasible because of Plagueis' foresight, and the fact that the military was ordered over a decade before it was needed. Perhaps the Empire would have continued using Kamino clones and ordered new batches, but something else got in the way: rebellions. Various Kamino cloning masters had been growing clones for use against the Empire, and when that was discovered, it was shut down by the 501st, leading not only to the loss of valuable Kaminoan scientists and likely technology, but also the Empire's choice to move away from clones as their main fighting force. More than that, there were also a number of defections from Kamino, as described in Legacy of the Force Bloodlines. The Kaminoans had lost their reputation as the top cloning technologists of the galaxy more than 50 years earlier, when their scientists defected, but nobody had ever equaled their quality since. Anyone who could assemble that knowledge again would make a fortune, enough to boost a whole planet's economy, not just a bank account. And these defections and the loss of research had actually begun as early as the Clone Wars. For example, Ko-Sai's research on how to control aging had disappeared after she fled the planet. Much later, we see something similar with Taun We, though by that point, the planet had already lost its reputation. So for the non-Imperial factions that could have used a clone army after the Republic, say the Alliance, or Separatist holdouts, or the New Republic, or whoever else, the main issues are similar. Primarily, the lack of sufficient cloning centers, as Kamino was largely ineffective, and just generally, the lack of foresight needed to make a clone army, as well as probably the lack of funds. Remember, although the initial investment was manageable by the banking clan, the Republic was making continual payments for new clones to Kamino to keep soldiers coming in. What's more, Kamino was unique in that it was incredibly specialized, but also purposefully removed from galactic maps and just generally knowledge. There's likely not another place like that in the galaxy. Other existing cloners also lacked the expertise and assets, both Mandalorian training and equipment, to justify investing in an army which would be lackluster compared to ordinary soldiers, especially with the ethical implications involved. Again, there were some exceptions. Thrawn was able to clone bodies for his Katana fleet and for later embedded cells within the New Republic, but that was only because he had access to the Empire's Mount Tantiss storehouse. And he was also in a desperate situation where he quickly and temporarily needed bodies for his blitz against the New Republic. Other one-off cloning situations did occur, but it's very hard to tell how a full army would actually operate. Plus, put simply, by this point, there's most likely a stigma associated with using clones after the rise of the Empire, though that does seem obvious. Now, that wouldn't bother some factions, but certainly the New Republic wouldn't be likely to use clones, and we see some of the general prejudices in the Thrawn duology. Anyways, that is all the lore I have for you guys. We won't be doing a question of the day today. However, if you'd like me to answer a quick question at the end of next video, leave it down below with the hashtag AskEck. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. Also, just another reminder, if you want more Eckhart's Ladder, go to X2, which I'll link down in the description, and you can watch the first episode of a brand new Empire War series. Anyway, until next time guys, this has been Eckhart's Ladder. May the Force be with you.